how long do we have to?
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, everyone. It's Cindy. Here we are. We are live. Faith in an ever changing world, encouragement and hope, faith story. And I'm Janet Harley, your host. Hi, everyone. And we want to welcome Cindy Baumann. Cindy is an entrepreneur, life and grief coach, and author of Grief Warrior, a journey of hope and courage to the other side of traumatic loss. And Cindy, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me, Janet. It's an honor to be on your show.
Thank you. And right after this, our short intro, Cindy is going to share her faith story. Be right back. Cindy, if you will please share your faith story. I know it's going to tug at our hearts, and especially our moms who will be watching.
Yes. Well, Janet, life was humming along,
Mhm.
and my boys were doing just great. My son, Sean, had just got married, like 3 months, and he was studying for entrance into medical school.
Uh-huh.
He landed a part-time job, and in the city where he was going to college, that was a big deal because it was hard to get a job in this city with all the students. And we just celebrated Thanksgiving with the family. So we were all together. And then he decided the next day to go hunting. And that is when life for all of us changed forever.
Oh.
He was accidentally shot.
Oh, dear. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, and it's just, I like to say that I don't like to say it, but my world stopped.
Yeah.
And I was paralyzed in my grief. And I was angry at God. I struggled with all the areas in my life. I went through extreme PTSD and years of therapy and EMDR treatment.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And I've seen where you've also talked about your life. You've had a lot of trauma in your life.
Yes, I did. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what, and I had to deal with each and every one of those things
Yes.
before I could deal with the loss of my son.
Yeah.
They were all layered on top of each other, and
Yeah.
I found out that I had done a pretty good job of stuffing everything up until that point where I could no longer stuff. The box was full.
Right. Right. And overflowing.
Right.
Well, Cindy, where did God fit in the loss?
Well, like I mentioned, I was really angry. I felt that he could have prevented this from happening. He could have stopped this horrible accident.
Yeah.
I was also angry at my son, crazy as it sounds. I felt that he had a choice to leave us that in that moment, and he made that choice. And I had a really good relationship with my priest, and he kept telling me to hand it all over to God, hand it all over to God. And I just couldn't get my arms around how do you do that?
Yeah.
So I tried and I told my priest, I'm just not seeing God show up and help me with this. And then one day I realized it wasn't in the way I expected him to show up, but we lived in this amazing community, and it was with the people that he surrounded me with, and they just they helped me survive this horrible trauma in my life. He showed up in all the people he showered me with in my life.
Wow.
Yeah.
So he was with you all the time.
Yeah, and I believed he saved me. I talk about a couple times in my book where I almost gave up, and I believe he saved me from that.
Yeah.
And he whispered to me that there would be peace on the other side of this. I just had to get through it.
Mm. One day at a time.
One day at a time is right.
Yeah. Well, if someone is grieving, what are some tips that you have learned?
Yeah, well, I have several tips, but I know due to time, I'll try to focus on just a few of them. The first thing is cry. You have to give yourself permission to cry.
Yeah.
So many times we want to distract ourselves and run from it, and I did do that.
Mm.
But what happens is if you do run from it and distract yourself, you only prolong it.
Yeah.
So, give yourself permission to cry and don't apologize for it.
Mm.
I say if I would have sat in my closet more with the pillow over my face, I would have moved along more I would have moved forward a little quicker. So that's number one. You need to persevere through it. Just keep going, even if you don't want to. Pray. I did
Yeah.
a lot of reading,
Absolutely.
and I expanded my spirituality. I opened up my mind. I got closer to God. I needed to do that. There was a time, and I had been at a point in my life where you just kind of take everything for granted,
Right.
and it did bring me closer to God. I had to deal with regrets. I had a lot of regrets in my life, and I would get on this hamster wheel, and I could not get off. I would just keep processing all my shortcomings over and over and over in my head, and all the things I wish I should have, would have, and could have done.
Yeah.
So I had to deal with that, and I found several tools to do that, which helped me move through it. I talked to my son. I imagined him sitting across from me, and I had a conversation with him, and I poured my heart out.
Wow.
I wrote a letter to him. I did some soul writing with God about it, and I asked for forgiveness. It was a process that took me a long time, and I know other people who go through grief struggle with that as well.
Right.
I journaled, put my feelings down on paper, and I did that right from the start. And when I looked back years later, I could see growth. So that was very helpful. Gratitude. No, I counted my blessings. In the beginning, it was hard. I had to dig deep.
I'm sure you don't feel blessed when you've lost your son, especially tragically in an accident. Yeah.
Right. I had to dig deep to find them, and I just kept doing it.
Yeah.
I would reach out. I reached out for professional help when I realized I couldn't do it alone. And compassion. My heart just grew when I found out someone, especially people who had lost a child.
Right.
My heart just broke for them, and I could feel their pain. So it just expanded my compassion, but yet I wanted to reach out and help others. So those were, and I guess ultimately I had to accept that I still had a relationship with my son, but it had changed.
Right.
It was no longer in the physical form.
Right. Right. Well, any other tips or suggestions you might want to give to someone who may be grieving, especially for a loss of a child?
Well, it's a very isolating, lonely process, and we all grieve differently.
Differently, yes, we do.
So it's unique to us. It's unique to our background. It's unique to the relationship we've had with the loved one we've lost. So we all have to, be patient with ourselves.
Right.
don't push yourself. Don't expect a timeline because there isn't one.
Yeah.
Um, there are many emotions you will go through, many, and they're all normal. Just give yourself time. Um, sometimes it's really helpful to reach out to other people who have lost
Yeah.
a child, somebody who is a little further down the path than you,
Yeah.
because it helps to talk to somebody who understands.
Yes.
Somebody who hasn't lost a child can't really comprehend. They try so hard, and sometimes when they try, they say the wrong things, and they
Yeah.
don't mean it. They mean
No.
well, and they just want to comfort you,
Yeah.
but they really, they do say the wrong things sometimes, and that
Yeah.
can be hurtful. But you just need to give yourself time. And for the person who's watching the griever,
Mm.
there are some tips that I have about things to say, or you can Google things not to say. That's
Okay.
helpful. And the
Yeah.
other thing that a person who's grieving really wants is just someone to sit with them. Sit with
Mm.
them, listen to their story.
Mm-hmm.
Don't expect them to get over it,
Yeah.
and just give them the time that they need to process this in their life. They
Right.
just they just need
Right.
you to just be there.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Cindy, thank you for sharing your story with us this morning. And I know I can tell on your face and your voice when you're still talking about it, even though it's been several years, the, the pain and it is still, I'm sure, will always be there. But thank you for sharing that. And um, now, if you could tell us one thing that we could do uh, to hold on to our faith in this ever changing world.
Well, first of all, be present to the blessings in your life. God shows up and touches your life every day. Pray. It does bring you
Mhm.
closer to God, and I believe He is
Absolutely.
close to the brokenhearted.
Yeah.
And just be grateful. And we need faith, hope, and love to get
Mhm.
through life's challenges. And
Absolutely.
love lives forever. We can't
Yeah.
forget that. Nobody can ever take that away from us.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you again for being with me today, Cindy, and for sharing your story with us, your faith story. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank
And
you.
thank you all for watching. I will put links after the broadcast. I certainly will put links in the comment section so that if you would like to get in touch with Cindy or purchase her book, you can certainly do that. And I would like to thank also for watching our family at Creative Motion Network. Thank you. Have faith and look up, friends, where our help comes from. Bye. God bless.